I'm the Gangster Nerd, and I'm a huge fan of Marvel. It's impossible to relate all the awesome things that's happened since the end of Secret Wars. The all-new, all-different Marvel landscape was truly something to behold. And don't get me wrong, it's not like there weren't some awful ideas. But for every bad idea Marvel had during all-new, all-different Marvel, they had 10 great ideas that either went unnoticed or unappreciated. Things such as new twists on old stories, radical new concepts, and even once-in-a-lifetime fights between characters that we may never see again. The kind of things that make you sit up, take notice, get on Facebook, and nerd rant endlessly. I'm Walt, the most gangster nerd on YouTube, and here's 8 awesome things that happened in all new, all different Marvel.
Galactus is now the Lifebringer. Galactus had always been a big deal in the Marvel Universe. If you've seen him coming, chances are your planet was about to be destroyed. The blue and purple clad Devourer of Worlds has had a lengthy run as one of the most formidable and powerful characters in all of Marvel Comics. But one thing has people more involved in the character than ever before, and that's his transformation from the Devourer of Worlds to the Seeder of Worlds. In all new, all different Marvels, the Ultimates, the first cosmic problem the Ultimates decide to solve is Galactus and his hunger. The team figure out that the technology that birthed Galactus at the beginning of time is the key. So the Ultimates retrieve it, then pay Galactus a visit on his world ship. After a trick and a sneak attack, they force Galactus back into this incubator he came from. The ending result? Galactus is now the Lifebringer, the Seeder of Worlds, and ever since it's been one awesome move after another. Galactus in his 50-plus year history has rarely changed. But with this alteration, and with some awesome moments Galactus has already been involved in since, the sky, or well, the top of the universe, is the limit. Tony Stark versus the Inhumans. The Inhumans are awesome, and Tony Stark is just as awesome. But when Tony Stark decided it was a good idea to kidnap Ulysses in order to test his theory on how Ulysses' powers worked, he made a critical mistake. You do not mess with the Inhumans, especially those in the royal court. Medusa, the queen of the Inhumans, will not let that fly. In one massive attack, the Inhumans hit Tony's money, his property, and destroy his reputation in one fell swoop. Now, Medusa at no point wanted to endanger any civilians, however. Maximus the Mad was out and about and tricked other Inhumans into publicly attacking a Stark Industries facility in Sweden, claiming to be on Medusa's behalf. Now this would lead Tony to retaliate. Unfortunately, Medusa knows what's about to happen and seals off the city. Meanwhile, all that's going on, Triton of the Inhumans was tricked by Maximus into helping him drop the defenses to New Atalan. Once this happens, Tony invades the city from his lab. Now he initially tries to capture Karnak, and he is completely outclassed. Karnak takes his suit apart like Legos. He makes quick work of other Inhumans, but by now Medusa shows up and explains to Tony that Maximus was behind the attack and the unlocking of the city. Tony, in his usual fashion, makes a quick snide remark telling Medusa to get her house in order before blasting off. Now it is worth noting that if Tony hadn't kidnapped Ulysses, Hydra Captain America would have killed the young Inhuman. Unfortunately though, no one's aware of this. Thanos versus Corvus Glaive. Thanos is a big deal in Marvel Comics. The Thanos Quest, the Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity, the upcoming Infinity War movie. So it's no surprise that Thanos got his own book during the all-new, all-different Marvel period. And just in case you forgot what the deal really was, in Thanos #1, Thanos reminds you in a very extreme manner. Thanos returns to the Black Quadrant, which you may or may not know is pretty much the seat of power for what's his empire. He rules here unchallenged, or at least he did. Now Corvus Glaive is the boss of the show. And, as is indicated, he rules firm but fair. He had taken over when Thanos left, and while Thanos had been gone, Corvus ruled and expanded the territory. Well, it shows Thanos returning, and he is not happy. He is attacked immediately, and you see him hand out a fresh load of ass whoop to everybody in his way. He finds Corvus Glaive, and after some talk tough, Corvus and Thanos square off, and Corvus actually brings the fight to Thanos. There's just one problem. It's Thanos. Thanos puts Corvus down with one punch, and picks up Corvus's blade. Corvus then begs Thanos not to kill him, because if Corvus's blade is destroyed, Corvus will die. Thanos looks at Corvus, talks a little trash, and then breaks the blade into pieces. He then gives Corvus Glaive a choice. With his blade destroyed, he will soon die. So, he can either kill himself and be done with it, or let Thanos do it. But if Thanos kills him, he will make him suffer tenfold. Corvus takes one of the shards of his broken blade and stabs himself. Thanos looks down and just walks off. Thanos literally made him commit suicide or die slow. The point of this, don't mess with Thanos. The Inhumans versus the X-Men. There was a brief time there at the end of 2016 and going into 2017 where we all thought Marvel was trying to kill off our beloved X-Men, for real. The whole thing with movie rights, the fact that Marvel wouldn't let any writers create new mutants, and the whole mega push the Inhumans were receiving, it's not totally inconceivable that Marvel was trying to get rid of the X-Men, seeing as they just got rid of the Fantastic Four not long before that. So we got the death of X, which explains how the Terrigen mists floating around Earth had become deadly to mutants. Scott Summers was actually killed by the mist, but Emma Frost uses her overpowered psychic abilities to fool her group of mutants into thinking they were still being led by Scott. They recruit another mutant, Alchemy, and manage to destroy one of the clouds, before the Inhuman royal family puts an abrupt end to all of that. Afterwards, the Inhumans and the X-Men decide to attempt to work together to solve the problem of the Terrigen for the mutants. Unfortunately, Beast is able to figure out that the last mist cloud is going to disperse into the atmosphere and make Earth uninhabitable for the mutants. The mutants decide it's either the cloud or them. The Inhumans have a lot to lose, however, as Terrigen is the key to their abilities. After we see some preemptive moves on the part of the mutants, we see a lot of really cool battles, but most importantly, we see Mosaic possess Magneto. While he is in his head, he sees that the mutants aren't just attacking Inhumans, and sees the truth that the final mist cloud is going to disperse and make Earth uninhabitable for mutants. With this information, he informs everyone else, and the information actually makes it to Medusa herself, who actually makes the move to destroy the final Terrigen cloud, saving all the mutants on the planet Earth, a very noble move on the part of the Queen. Captain Marvel nearly kills Tony Stark. Before Civil War II, Captain Marvel had never really been the most popular character around. Not that she isn't impressive, formerly being Ms. Marvel, becoming the commander of Alpha Flight, and most recently leading the Ultimates. She actually is quite a badass. She eventually became aware of the Inhuman Ulysses and his ability to see the future. Ulysses correctly predicts an attack by Thanos, which indirectly led to the death of War Machine and She-Hulk being in a coma. And then Ulysses predicts the arrival of the Infinite, which goes as planned. Captain Marvel becomes convinced Ulysses' visions have to be acted upon. However, after a botched arrest of what was supposed to be a Hydra secret agent, but wasn't, and then seeing the vision of Spider-Man either killing or holding a dead Captain America, Captain Marvel decides she knows what's best for everybody and attempts to arrest the younger Spider-Man. This leads to a large portion of the Marvel superhero community to rebuke her and her tactics. However, later in Washington, D.C., Captain Marvel attempts to persuade the younger Spider-Man to come in, and then attempts to just reach out and grab him, when she is blocked by a force field around him. Captain Marvel immediately realizes that Tony Stark is behind this. She looks up to see Tony in one of his various armors, and the fight is on. However, to the horror of everyone witnessing the event, Captain Marvel goes too far, as we see her blast right through Iron Man and we see Tony fall to the ground. Now, as if Captain Marvel wasn't popular before, this is why people flat out despise her now. The fight between Black Panther and Deadpool. Deadpool's solo comic has got to be one of, if not the best story to come out of All New, All Different Marvel. And Deadpool number 15 is proof of this. Deadpool decides the Inhuman future spoiler Ulysses needs to die. So, he goes to the Triskelion where Ulysses is at, and after sneaking past the Ultimates while monologuing, thinking Ulysses can hear him, he finds Ulysses, and it becomes apparent that this is not the case. So afterwards, Deadpool goes to make his exit when he runs headlong into Black Panther. Black Panther does not trust Deadpool, and when Deadpool starts with his usual nonsense, Black Panther starts in on Deadpool with some pretty vicious strikes. Then demands to know why Deadpool's even there, to which Deadpool tells him he's trying to find a bathroom. Now this sets up Deadpool's comments that he hadn't seen this much drama over a toilet since he was in North Carolina, a play on the controversial HB2 bill back in 2016. But this battle keeps going, with Black Panther breaking Deadpool's swords and wanting to know why he's there, which then leads to a Macho Man Randy Savage elbow and Deadpool going, "Oh yeah!" T'Challa then informs Deadpool that he cannot harm him, to which Deadpool responds, "I can annoy you," and then ruins a Game of Thrones story which angers T'Challa as he hadn't read the book yet. Deadpool then throws a smoke grenade and runs to the bathroom, where he is found and thrown back out into the hall. The fight continues on, with Ms. America happening upon them and witnessing Deadpool landing a vicious kick to the groin of Black Panther, followed very quickly by Black Panther returning an even more vicious kick to Deadpool's groin, and then seeing Deadpool get thrown out of the window of the Triskelion, and Black Panther swearing he will kill Deadpool. Now, in my opinion, it having a lot of action and dialogue, this was one of the funniest fights I had ever watched. And when I read it for the very first time, I literally could not believe I was witnessing a battle between these two awesome characters. Lord Order and Master Chaos kill the Living Tribunal. The Ultimates and the Ultimates 2 were totally awesome volumes. Throughout the history of Marvel, if you wanted to know about the cosmic side of the universe and about the multiverse, you had to read a whole huge number of different stories. From the original Quasar to the pre-retcon Star-Lord to the pre-retcon Doctor Strange. But with the launch of All New, All Different Marvel, everything you needed to know about the cosmic entities and the universe, etc. in general, was covered in the Ultimates, and that was awesome. With that being said, we know the Living Tribunal is the most powerful being in the multiverse, second only to the one above all. The Living Tribunal's main purpose is to ensure the balance of existence. So in All New, All Different Marvel, Galactus is no longer the Devourer of Worlds, but is now the Seeder of Worlds. And that would seem awesome at first, until you find out that Lord Order and Master Chaos, the universal embodiments of those two principles, attack Galactus because he's not performing his responsibility. Without the Devourer of Worlds, worlds that are supposed to no longer exist continue to. And without him devouring worlds, the chaos that ensues from such an action isn't present either. Lord Order and Master Chaos simply cannot let this go on. So they first attempt to persuade Galactus, which does not work, then attack him, which leads to them being defeated and fleeing. But not to be outdone, Lord Order and Master Chaos go before the Living Tribunal and demand that he change Galactus back to the Devourer. The Living Tribunal states that this is a new universe, and that he will not be forcing Galactus to do anything. In frustration, they attack and kill the Living Tribunal, which left every comic fanboy even remotely aware of the cosmic entities in Marvel in a state of shock. To see the embodiment of order and chaos kill the eternal and ultimate judge of the Marvel multiverse was completely unexpected, and showed just what to expect with this second volume of the Ultimate. Captain America being a Hydra agent. If you haven't heard by now, or have been under a rock for over a year, Captain America, Steve Rogers, the paradigm of morality, the embodiment of truth and justice, the guy who yells out, "Avengers, assemble!" Captain America is a Hydra agent. This is the single craziest thing any of us comic fanboys were expecting. After Avengers standoff and the whole Pleasant Hill fiasco, Steve Rogers was returned to his youth by Kobik the Cosmic Cube, who'd become a little girl. Comic books. She made a few changes, as we seen her change Dr. Selvig into a lifelong Hydra agent. She also changed Steve Rogers the same way, with the added caveat of being younger. What nobody was expecting was this new Steve Rogers is evil incarnate. A walking, talking ass-whooping who isn't afraid to do whatever it takes to see Hydra rule the world. Starting with his first dark deed, killing Jack Flag, and then the now iconic panel of Steve saying "Hell Hydra." We watched him get Maria Hill ousted as director of S.H.I.E.L.D., pull the strings that led to Civil War II, get Bruce Banner killed, manipulate Deadpool into killing Agent Coulson, keep Sam Wilson from saving a senator's life. The evil Captain America is so shrewd and cunning that you absolutely love to hate him, and you have to know exactly what his next move will be. We all have watched through Secret Empire as he first eliminated all his threats with a giant planet shield and a dark dimension over New York. Then took over the US. He's lifted Mjolnir. He imprisoned Inhumans and mutants. He launched wars against Atlantis, Wakanda, and invaded the Savage Land. We seen him annihilate Las Vegas, and he killed Black Widow. To see all these actions on the part of Captain America, the super good guy, the equivalent of Liu Kang, Goku, or Superman, but in Marvel, this was without a doubt the single greatest thing that came out of All New, All Different Marvel. And that's the list. Did I nail it? Did I miss it? Do you got something you want to add? Tell me all about it in the comments below. I'm Walt, the most gangster nerd on YouTube, and I'll see you soon.